Visitors Bureau, and really want to thank you for joining us for today's lunch chat. Today's lunch chat is being streamed live through Facebook Live, as well as we are sharing through the Zoom platform. Our lunch chats have been taking place every Tuesday and Thursday, really a way to connect, inform, and help our community as we move and navigate through post-COVID-19. Definitely thank you guys all for joining us as we have a very exciting topic today and a very informative topic surrounding preparing to open for retail businesses as we move into the next phase. I will also give you a heads up as we are looking at today's topic. We understand that the focus is retail businesses. However, we know that we will touch base on other areas such as restaurants and other entrepreneurs who are looking to just see what we can do to be solution oriented and get ourselves back out there to be able to serve our population and community. Today's partners are the Winnebago County, the City of Rockford, and the Rockford Chamber of Commerce, as well as the SBDC. We are very excited for them to be today's partners, as well as our panelists for today. As mentioned before, my name is Martisha Brown. I'm the Director of Advancement for the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I will be your facilitator today for the conversation. Just a couple of FYIs as we begin today's lunch chat webinar. If you have any questions, we're going to ask that you please load them into the Q&A portion of Zoom if you are using the Zoom platform. If you are joining us by Facebook Live, just simply type your questions or comments into the Facebook Live section, and we will make sure to load those questions into our Zoom platform. We have lovely team members that are working behind the scenes to make sure that we can get all of your feedback and answer your questions as they go along. And so, as mentioned, today's topic is really focusing in on preparing to open retail business solutions. As many are aware, the Governor Pritzker actually just announced some of the different phases that are taking place as we move towards complete restoration of Illinois post COVID-19. We will be discussing that a little bit here today and just preparing us again to be able to service our population and serve our customers. So as mentioned before, we have great partners and a lot of very informative information that we'll be sharing with you guys. We have our Winnebago County Board Chairman, Frank Haney, Nicholas Meyer, the Legal Director of the City of Rockford, and Edward will be sharing information on behalf of the Small Business Development Center, or SBDC. I will give you a heads up that we are partnering with the United Way of Rock River Valley. So we would ask if you have the capabilities or you are able to, please look to donate to the United Way's COVID-19 fund, or you can text by texting 40403 if you would like to make that donation through text. Again, I'm sorry, that's 40403 if you would like to text, or you can go to the website on the screen. All right, so we will go ahead and kick this off. If we want to bring our chairman on the screen here, our Winnebago County Board Chairman, Frank Haney, will be discussing with us what we can do to prepare to open in reference to the Restore Illinois phases. Frank, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you very much, Martisha. Really honored to be with you. Let me just start a little bit big picture. You know, we are, what, 8 weeks, almost 8 weeks into what is a once in 100-year pandemic. And probably some of the folks that live in the retail world and have been hit hard by the shutdown and the economic fallout from the pandemic, you know, don't need to tell you this, but we are seeing a once in 100-year economic crisis that has resulted from this, and it is very difficult when you look at what people are going through on the public health side. Not everybody is hit the same way. Some people get COVID-19 and have very mild symptoms and recover rather easily. Other people are hit extremely hard. Those with underlying conditions, those with you know, that maybe are a little more advanced in age, have had at times very significant challenges with this. On the economic side, you know, everybody has been cooped up and asked to change their behaviors and staying home and the social distancing and all of the mitigation measures, but not everybody's been hit equally on the financial side. And so when we have these conversations, I think it's important that when we talk about the financial side and the need. We all want to get to the same place of opening up. I also believe that when we do that, you know, the idea that we all always preface things that we want to do it the safest way possible. And until we conquer or until we solve the pandemic problem or the virus problem, we're not going to solve some of the economic challenges completely. We have seen over the last several weeks historic financial numbers in terms of unemployment, in terms of economic impact, and we're going to see those for some time. Everybody that owns a business, retail or otherwise, wants to see us get back safely in doing business. So then the question becomes, how do we get there? And we know we're in terms of the governor's plan he rolled out. You know, there's plans in states throughout the country, similar, not all the same. I would say the governor's plan is a bit more conservative actually than a number of other states. You do see some very interesting and dynamic discussions going on in Wisconsin, just across the border. You see legal discussions. I'm sure our attorney, Nick Meyer, will talk about some of that in a few minutes. But all of us are interested in safely advancing from stage two, phase two, which we are in now, to phase three. Phase three very directly impacts retail. Yes, it's fair to say a number of folks probably watching, perhaps even participating as a panelist today, you know, have shared concerns that, you know, big box stores continue to do business, whereas some smaller retail shops were directly and hard hit and shut down. So we are very much looking forward that if all stays on track with some public health metrics, which I'll get to in a minute, we're on track. We want to stay on track, and we want to get to phase three at the end of May. I believe it's May 29th. Phase three would start. How do we get there? It's pretty simple. We need to continue to make progress around very specific public health metrics, and they're not very complicated ones. Making sure that we have appropriate capacity in our hospitals is critical. And it has been critical, and it will be critical as we go forward. The more we are assured that there's capacity in our hospitals, Martisha, the more we have confidence to open up a little more of our economy, be a little more mobile. At the end of the day, all of the talk and the discussion about flattening the curve was really simple. We don't have a vaccine yet or a treatment, so we wanted to slow down the spiking or too many people getting COVID-19 and then knowing a percentage would need advanced care like hospitalization, an ICU bed, a ventilator. Everything's on a percentage basis, but we know if too many people get COVID-19 at one time, that could overwhelm our healthcare system. In the Rockford region, as you know, as a kid who grew up here, same with Nick Meyer, we have 3 world-class hospitals, but if we overrun their ability to serve our community because of a spike in COVID, then they can't deliver great care to those who need it when they need it. To date, we've done a very good job of having available hospital capacity. IDPH, the Illinois Department of Public Health, keeps track of these statistics on their website, so business owners can check the state website to see how we're tracking. Right now, we are on track with our capacity in with hospital beds, intensive care beds and ventilators. We are well on track. It puts us in a position that on May 29th, we could advance to phase 3. Another public health metric, Martisha, which is critical, is that as we have, I think, and we're proud of this, we've increased our ability to do testing. We've been chasing testing as a country, as a state, and locally for 8 weeks. We have progressively built up our ability to test more people every day, every week. That is critical to containing the spread of COVID-19 before there's a vaccine or treatment. And so as we go forward, being able to test folks and then being able to quarantine folks who become COVID positive, do contact tracing so you can find other people they may have come in contact with very proactively does help mitigate or slow down the spread of COVID-19. Right now, we have more good news in terms of advancing to phase 3. our positivity rate of tests. So if you have 100 people get a COVID-19 test at one of our community-based sites, or if they go to their medical clinic, right now in Winnebago County, you're looking at about, give or take a point, 15% of our tests come back COVID positive. When you look at the region we're in, and this is very important, we tend to think locally, right? Rockford region, Winnebago County, many folks live in our central city, Rockford, which is half of the size of Winnebago County. So we kind of think locally, but the governor put us into 4 big regions. We are the north central region. And so we are in a team of counties that goes all the way to DeKalb, all the way down past Peoria. And so we are very large. And those other counties are keeping the same stats we are, Martisha, on hospital capacity, on testing, ability to increase testing, and also percent of positive tests. And as a region, we are doing very well to advance to phase 3 on May 29th. Locally, we are, even as a set-aside local group within the region, we are on track as well. Do we have a higher incidence of cases? Do we have a few more challenges than some other smaller rural counties within our region? Yes, and we're working on that. But even Winnebago County, Rockford region is in pace with these metrics that are critical to us moving to the next phase. When we move to the next phase, again, God willing, hopefully the end of May, we can then start to gather in groups of 10 or more. We do have to wear face coverings and practice social distancing. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, regardless of which phase we're in, for a very long time, for several months, perhaps even a year, we're going to have social distancing. The emphasis of public officials reminding us to wash our hands all the time. Face coverings are not going to go away on May 29th. That's going to be with us for a while. But as a citizen, as a kid who grew up here, I'm not a first responder. I'm not a frontline healthcare worker. So I don't, compared to those great people, I don't save lives every day, but through my behavior, as much as I don't like any of this either, through my behavior personally, and what I encourage my family to do, we can help save lives. We can also help keep us on track so that we're opening up business that we want to get back open as fast as safely possible. And as business folks and as the community looks at these phases, whether it's phase 3, hopefully on May 29th, if we stay on track, or phase 4 in the future, you could see things change. The governor, you could have local officials looking, kind of at their situation and talking with Springfield about, hey, here's where we're at, and having additional discussions. But at this point, we're in a good position to move to phase 3. There's going to be a lot of social distancing and risk mitigation measures that will be in place, whether it's a barber shop, whether it's a retail, whether it's some offices opening up, or even some of the manufacturing that has been closed for a little bit. So I know we got to get to our all-star attorney who's giving, I heard one of the greatest presentations in the history of public speaking. I know we want to get to Nick Meyer here in a minute, but I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with folks. We've asked our community to do things that no other Winnebago County citizen has been asked to do in 100 years. And it's been hard on families. It's been hard on business. The idea that we all care about the health and well-being of our fellow citizens. We don't want to put people at risk, but there is a financial side. And the great thing is we had the economy humming along before this hit. And compared to the Great Recession about 10 years ago, where the fundamentals of our economy were very upside down and broken, we had a lot of momentum going locally, even statewide, and certainly nationally. And so there's some good fundamentals in place, and I do hope that the fact that some of the unemployment numbers that you see that are staggering, because a lot of them are furloughs, that they're still even potentially tied back to jobs, that we can come out of this safely, very strategically, but that we can bounce, as we open up and come back better than ever. So it's going to take some work on the public health side, Martisha, and on the economic side, but we'll continue to work through it together. And again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Thank you so much for that, Frank. I really appreciate all of your insight and the sensitivity as we navigate through the various different phases, and really love the approach and comment that you made surrounding what we can do in terms of our part in the matter of ensuring that we are following best practices of hand washing, social distancing, and making sure that we're wearing our face masks so that we can continue to move through our Restore Illinois phases. So thank you so much for that, Frank. And I will bring you back on for the Q&A. I see some questions coming here, but we'll be sure to bring you back for that. All right, moving along, really excited to hear some of the legal considerations and feedback and recommendations from the legal director for the city of Rockford, Nicholas Meyer. Thank you so much for joining us as a panelist, and I will hand it off to you.
Thank you, Martisha, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will try to speak loud. Sometimes the microphone on my computer doesn't work very well, so trying to get a little closer to the computer to make sure that works. Just want to go through today a bit of the process that we've been following to achieve compliance with the executive orders as they've been coming out. Go through the basic rules that are in place right now, and we see probably staying in place for quite a while now. Discuss briefly some of the guidance we're getting from the state level, and then I'll talk some more about the various enforcement considerations, both at the state and local level, and we'll end on just a brief discussion of pending court cases that may impact the outcome of this executive order in the near future. We've already seen one court case yesterday that was pretty significant, which is in the state of Wisconsin. So just so we've got a lot of questions on what our process has been locally. Our process has been to work through my office in conjunction with the state's attorney's office, and then also consulting our other local municipal attorneys to respond to questions about interpretation and enforcement of the executive order. And it's been really a complaint-driven or inquiry-driven process. We're not, we really don't have time and capacity right now to be proactive. So we are getting through our COVID hotline or through City of Rockford directly questions and concerns from business owners, from employees, customers, and then members of the general public on a daily basis that we have to go through and try to help provide some clarity. When we cannot provide an answer that it's readily apparent from the executive order itself, we also work with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and also the governor's office, either directly through our internal contacts or through the guidance that they've been pushing out on a pretty regular basis at times to address frequently asked questions or to give us interpretation of how we should be applying the rules. And we're really driving this through education, primarily through education, letting everyone know what the rules are. So if we receive a complaint from an employee that a business isn't complying or they're concerned about their own safety, our staff goes out to that business and finds out if the social distancing rules are being followed. If they're not, then we'll talk with the manager or a business owner to let them know what the rules are, what the guidelines are, because there is some confusion. And for the most part, we've been able to achieve compliance through that. Because for the most part, employees, employers, and customers all want to make sure they're staying safe, and they're also making sure that they're not putting anybody else at risk of harm. We've had really very limited times where we've had to really threaten any enforcement action. Compliance has been voluntarily for the most part at this time. The basic rules that we are following under phase 2 as it pertains to retail in most businesses is that you are able to open for the essential stores. The non-essential retail can open for curbside and delivery. You do have to provide Where possible, face masks for employees. You also are required to make sure that they are wearing those and following social distance requirements in general. Again, frequently washing their hands, sanitizing surfaces, making sure where possible to maintain that 6-foot social distance. There have been a lot of questions we've gotten recently on, do I have to follow those rules for my employees? The answer we've been giving out and we've heard from the state level is yes, employers are required to follow that as much as possible. There's also questions we're receiving on what happens if I own a store, retail store, and a customer comes in that's not wearing a mask. What is my responsibility? What is my obligation? And our answer to that is, our expectation is as much as possible that stores do follow those orders, do ask their customers to follow those rules and wear masks. Stores can refuse service if somebody's not complying with their own rules, but we also don't expect retail establishments or any establishment to be the police and put themselves in harm's way. If there's a customer that's getting aggressive or you think is going to get aggressive, the city of Rockford, we don't expect anybody to meet that and escalate this situation at all. And if there is a concern, you can always reach out to the city of Rockford or the county for assistance through the non-emergency line or through the legal department for any assistance. At the state level, there's a number of organizations or agencies that are involved in issuing guidance. Like I said, the one is the Illinois DCEO that's been helping out. We also are seeing a guidance being pushed out from the Illinois Department of Public Health regarding safety requirements. We're seeing guidance being pushed out from the Illinois Department of Human Rights, primarily regarding the issue with face masks and what can and cannot be done or what should and should not be done. And we also see the guidance being pushed out directly from the governor's office. I emailed some links to some recent guidance, Q&As and other documents from each of those agencies that are the most current that I've seen, and asked Martisha to forward those along to you. So hopefully a lot of that can answer questions. As we move from phase 2 to phase 3 and then phase 4, we've also been told that we'll be receiving additional guidance through those agencies as we get closer. As of right now, we haven't. So we know that we're inching closer right now from phase 2 to phase 3, and we're still waiting on guidance in particular on how salons and those types of businesses are going to be allowed to operate. Haven't received it yet. When we get that, we'll push that out as quickly as possible. And I'm more than happy in the Q&A to answer as many questions you have on how you should be operating or how you can best comply with the rules in this phase and then phases moving forward. Again, though, it's a bit of a dynamic situation. From day to day, week to week, the governor's office can issue new guidance, new directives, and each of the state agencies can also issue new guidance as well. Sometimes it's inconsistent. Sometimes it contradicts earlier guidance, which is to be expected because, like the chairman said, we haven't really seen anything like this, and so we're allowing our state agencies, our local agencies, to make mistakes and correct them where it's appropriate. I've been getting a lot of questions recently on sort of enforcement and potential consequences. What the executive order says and what the governor has said is that enforcement can come from the state level through the state police or the state agencies, but also is relying pretty heavily on local law enforcement at the county and the city level to carry out these orders. So that's our responsibility, is whether we agree with certain portions of the order or not, or the guidance, it's our duty really to follow the law and implement that as much as possible. We, like I've said, have done our best to not be heavy-handed in this and to drive compliance through volunteer as much as possible, or voluntarily as much as possible. And again, we've been able to do that. There are potential consequences, as we've seen other municipalities downstate allow openings in phases quicker than what the governor has allowed. And I think everybody needs to be aware that there are potential consequences for that. What the governor has said in the last 48 or 72 hours is, those businesses such as restaurants and hair salons are licensed by the state of Illinois. So even if a local jurisdiction gives the green light and says you can operate locally, really what you're doing is putting those businesses in jeopardy of losing their state licenses. So it's not, we really need to make sure that we're not getting out ahead, because I don't want to put locally in Rockford anyway, anybody in jeopardy of losing a license because of actions that we took at the local level. There's also some guidance from the Trial Lawyers Association warning against opening early, because if there's potential lawsuits from a business where somebody was harmed or got became ill or died because of the actions of a certain business, that the insurance agencies have indicated they may not step in and cover that expense. So it's another it's another consideration. The IDPH, the Illinois Department of Public Health, has also indicated a willingness to step in and shut down businesses under their authority if it becomes necessary. My understanding is not yet, but they have dangled that out there. The governor has also indicated that cities and counties that move too quickly could also jeopardize funding down the road from the, as a pass-through from the federal government. So I know that there's been a lot of push locally and statewide, downstate in particular, to open quicker than what the governor is wanting to allow at this point. And it's just really important for everyone to understand that although locally and regionally we may want to do that, there are potential consequences. So we need to be real careful on how we proceed. At the local level, as I said, we are working, the city of Rockford is working closely with the health department and the state's attorney's department on a daily basis, essentially all day long, on identifying inquiries and complaints and responding to those. The health department has some authority to step in if they need to. The city of Rockford also has some. We did pass an ordinance at the beginning of this crisis that allowed the city the ability to issue fines for any person or business that is openly violating the executive order. At this point, we have not had to issue any fines. We did have one business that was issued a notice, but has not been fined yet. And that was a business that we had visited, I think, 5 or 6 times and requested voluntary compliance, and just was refusing to follow the rules. But so far, we have not had to take any more dramatic steps in that. We did see, I believe last week, the town of Cicero filed a lawsuit against the nursing home or a group living facility because they did not act to stop a spread of the virus. So that's another thing either the county or the city can do. Again, we don't want to do that and no intention to do that. In the vein of lawsuits, there are several lawsuits pending across the state. One of them was filed locally by Representative Cabello. That was filed in state court. It looks like that one has been removed to federal court and it's been assigned to federal court, but there's also lawsuits that have been filed down in Carroll County and Clinton County as well from salon owners and business owners. So we're tracking that as much as possible because potentially if there's a temporary restraining order that applies, it could impact everyone. So it's important that we follow those and track those and comply with any litigation that comes out. If there is, I'm sure you would all hear about it, but we would do our best to make sure locally through my office and the state's attorney's office that we would let anybody know if there's been a decision impacting their businesses. We did see yesterday, as I mentioned earlier, Wisconsin Supreme Court overturned their stay-at-home order. I'm not sure what impact that's going to have on the state of Illinois, but I'm assuming there's going to be some major decisions moving forward. We did see the district court, a federal district judge did uphold Governor Pritzker's order as it pertained to churches, and a lawsuit was filed in Lena earlier this month. So that's really it for me. I think I've gone a little long. Thank you everybody for listening. Hopefully you could hear me. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions. The name of the game again is compliance and really operating in a way that keeps yourself and more importantly, your customers and your employees as safe as possible.
Thank you so much for that, Nicholas. Definitely really, really good information. Really appreciate it. The comments that you made related to pretty much protecting your business by making sure that you are following suit with the phases that have been introduced by Governor Pritzker. So definitely appreciate all of those comments. I see even more questions coming in that we'll be sharing with you in just a little bit here, Nicholas, but definitely want to move on to our next panelist. We have Edward Caceres. He is the consultant for the SBDC, and he is going to share with us some really great and insightful information as you are preparing to open your business, some of those plan considerations and key things that will be important to ensure you're able to service your customers. Take it away, Edward.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about something that we learned, but before that I just want to share with our audience who is the SBDC or what we are doing for our community. The Small Business Development Center at the Rockford Chamber of Commerce provide a vast array of technical assistance to small businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs. Based on client needs, local business trends, and individual business requirements, SBDCs can customize their services to meet the evolving needs of the hundreds of small businesses that we serve. With that being said, I just want to share with you what we learned lately. Almost 2 months ago, we started taking surveys in the area to try to understand how this pandemic is going to impact in the performance of the small businesses. So now we are kind of clear about the kind of guidance that we need to provide to our entrepreneur community in the Rockford area. And one of the things that we learned is that we need to create a plan. That is the first thing that we need to create before opening your business. Because if you are focusing on highlight these areas that we are going to mention, what is going to happen is that you will be well prepared to this new stage in your business. So the first thing that we need to talk before preparing to reopen your business is you need a plan. Use this time now to develop a plan for reopening your business and take in consideration all the expenses and the logistics that you are going to require for the next 3 months. Also, you have to consider what you learn during this time that will benefit your business and in the future, because of course, this is something new, but you know, help us to face that any plan always need to be reviewed, and this is the right time to start reviewing your your plans. Also, you need to refine your disaster plan. Some people say that this is going to be longer than we expect, and for that reason you need to get some kind of contingency plan in order to face this new reality. The second important thing that you have to take in consideration, the first one is a plan, the second is your employees. Your employees basically are the cornerstone of your business in this moment. A successful relaunch and recovery of your business will depend on your ability to retain talent. So make your employee engagement a priority. You can afford, especially if you are in the hospitality business, you can afford to start training people when actually your clientele is going to be afraid and expecting a kind of outstanding customer service. So you need to retain your employees. And also you have to take in consideration that many of small businesses treat their employees like a family. So recognize and thank them for hanging in there and acknowledge the financial and mental stress that this pandemic has caused to them. Everyone, and I can tell you this from my clients, have a kind of roller coaster with emotions because nobody knows how to face this. And I'm always recommend that the best way to face this is with a plan. So it's time to be focused and keep away from us our feelings and try to be clear about the kind of actions that we are going to perform in order to overcome this situation. Another important thing is that you have to consider your reopening hours, because based on that, you are going to manage much better your cash flow and your operative expenses. You need to listen your clients, you need to listen your employees to figure it out the best schedule to start serving your clientele again. Another important thing is that you have to always listen what your employees say. If you think about it, for example, if you are in a restaurant, your waitress is not just a waitress. It's basically someone that takes the pulse of the market. It's someone that can provide you with important feedbacks that can help you to refine your plan and make your customer feel more comfortable, basically, to back to the new normal. Now, another important thing that we have to talk is about the third factor, that is vendors and creditors. At this point, hopefully you have been communicating with them. Basically, you have to review your current inventory and try to figure it out if it's something that is going to face your new reality. Take in consideration that it's going to take a while before everything getting normal, per se. So you have to be really, really smart in the way that you get all your inventory in order to avoid spend too much money and make it even harder financially speaking for your business. It's really important also that you start talking with them about with your vendors about if there is any kind of payment plans. Probably in the past you never used them, but probably now could be a great idea if you know if they are willing to consider 30, 45, or 60-day payment options on new orders. So in that way, that is going to help you to manage much better your cash flow. The other important factor and the main reason why we are in business, our customers. If you think about it, it's going to take more than a "we are open" sign to get our customers back in the door. Customers are going to be probably hesitant to be in public, even in small crowds. So you have to understand that and try to keep your establishment fresh, clean, and well organized. So in that way, the people is going to feel comfortable and confident to back once again to your business. Now, another important thing is that a lot of people is worried about the safe distance. So you have to re-engineer the physical space on your business to facilitate this distancing among your employees and between customers to make feel everyone comfortable with this new reality. So evaluate new ways to, that protect employees and your customers in a safe way that everyone can manage this new reality. Now, depending on the business that you are running, I highly recommend that, and it's something that also we can help you. This is just an overview about things that you have to take in consideration. We are working actually in create more videos and webinars that allow the people pay attention, take care and pay attention in things that are going to be really important for you before we open your business. So stay tuned with us and with Go Rockford, because they are our partners and we are working as a team to overcome this situation. I'm pretty sure that we are going to overcome this. It's not the first time that our country faces a big challenge, and I'm pretty sure that we are going to overcome this. Even if sometimes we got a low morale, but as a SBDC consultants, we have to try to keep our clientele morale, up. That leads me to the last important part of the things that you have to take in consideration, that is your cash flow. This is the right time that you need to start talking, with your banks. If you have some debt payments that are due, you have to start talking with the credit card companies if your business has one and you got some balance in there, and what kind of facilities they are providing to you, if there is anyone. You have to start coordinating with your landlord if you got a lease for your place about how you can defer the payments. So everyone is on the same page, but the most important thing is that you have to take the bull by the horns and approach the problem. Start talking with them. Not because you don't approach the problem, the things are going to disappear. I know that it's overwhelming, all the things that are happening, but it's also true that this is a test for your business. And you have to be prepared to overcome this. So that is one other thing. Also, you have to talk with the utilities companies, the insurance companies, any organization that you have a financial obligation with them. This is the right moment to start talking with them about how you can work together along this situation. Try to make statements in a monthly basis. Try to project sales and expenses in a monthly basis. In that way, it's going to be easy for you correct any problem that probably you got in your business, or any excess that probably without intention you are incurring it. But the most important thing is that you have to also develop several scenarios that reflect what could be the reality in the next 3 months. Remember, this is something new. There is nothing in the books. There is nothing that we learn in the college that prepare us for this situation. We got a few ideas, but now this is the right time to put the best of us to make the things happen. So if you have more questions, please feel free to contact us. You can visit our website at the rockfordsbdc.org. We can set up online consultations with you. One thing that I want to remark is that every business is different. So we are probably in June get more professional business consultants with us, with a specialty in digital marketing, financial, and HR, that basically we know, based on the surveys that we were performing lately, that are the 3 main areas that the business are going to struggle in the next months. So please feel free to contact us, that we can work, with you in various, because every business is very specific. So we want to be able to understand your case and work with you along this situation. So please just be prepared. Try to keep your mind positive. Try to. I know that this is a hard time for everyone. I can tell you, because I hear that from my clients. But this is also the moment that we have to act like a team players to overcome this situation. That will be all from my side, and thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Nicholas. As we're bringing all of our panelists on screen, I just want to highlight some of the things that you pointed out. One thing you mentioned was taking a look at your reopening hours. I've seen a lot of restaurants within our county that have gotten very creative, maybe taking a look at their peak time periods for lunch or breakfast and making those adjustments. I'm sure that that's something that they're doing to, of course, implement factoring in their cash flow as we move forward. And then also the inventory available. What are the products that are offered? Do you need to adjust the product line that you're offering as a retailer? Do you need to adjust the menu items that you're offering as a restaurant? So definitely really, really great points that you offered there, Edward. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you for that. So we're going to go ahead and move right into our Q&A portion. Again, we will bring all of our panelists on screen there, and I'll throw a couple questions your way. We have questions not only, again, on Facebook, but also through the Zoom platform. Very first question I'm going to toss at Nicholas. Does the city have safety guidelines for small businesses, or are there plans to implement specific guidelines for small businesses, specifically retail businesses and barbers, as we approach and move into the next phase, or should they be utilizing some of the materials already out there?
So thank you. No, we don't have any specific guidelines that are different than the state, the Department of Public Health, or the DCEO has put out. I do believe we condensed those, at least the county health department did, and put that in the document that I've shared with you. But from our perspective, we'll be following the guidance as it comes out from one of those agencies.
Perfect, perfect. And just the same exact question, handing it off to you, Frank. Is there anything from the county on specific recommendations based upon industry? Or are we looking at the recommendations that's been provided by Nicholas, which for all the viewers, we will be sure to load onto our website?
Sure. No, I'm sorry, I'm not showing up on your screen here.
Oh, okay. We'll give a try to start your video again there, but feel free to take it away. We can hear you.
Oh, there we go. There, sorry about that. I don't have too much to say. I think Nick did a good job of overviewing it. I would just say, as we go forward, we need to be flexible and fluid. Things can change. Just like we've seen modeling projections change from where we started because we flattened the curve. We are going to see things be fluid I believe, on the business or financial side as well. And we just have to be, we need to be ready to go. Mayor McNamara has done a real nice job of pulling together some groups to really focus on a number of things. And and I really appreciate him being aggressive on that because this is an important topic. So I think there's going to be, by getting some of these industry experts that he's put together talking about ways and opportunities to do this right and safely. As great ideas come forward from our industry experts, cross-checked by our public health folks, and of course our favorite legal minds in the community, you know, if that's worth sharing with the governor to really force some of those discussions, I think that's what people expect to see happening. We are not going to sit and wait for everything to come to us. We are going to help drive the discussion. So again, I think I want to thank Mayor McNamara for being aggressive on that, bringing a lot of community folks together.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I believe one of you mentioned that there are some potential funding risks as we look at from the state related to cities. Would that funding come from a certain pool? Is it something that we should keep in mind as we look at some of our disparities in our community, that funding could be pulled from the state for those particular areas as a result of not following through with the guidelines and phases?
So, you know, the governor has not indicated in terms of using that as a tool for encouraging compliance. The governor hasn't really indicated exactly what resources or funding streams would be withheld. It likely would be in the context of any recovery funds that may be passed through the state. But, you know, there hasn't been a whole lot of detail on what that would mean. And frankly, it is because right now we don't know where all those funding sources are going to come from, and so I don't think he's probably going to want to speak out of turn. I do want to echo what the chairman said. There are groups that are meeting right now across industries to look at how they can reopen safely amongst themselves, but also will be making recommendations to the local mayors in the county as to ideas that maybe we can move from phase 4 to phase 3, and those could potentially go up to another level to encourage the governor to allow certain industries to open early. So right now we're operating under what the guidance has been given us from the governor, but we are working to put together hopefully rules that may be more applicable to our region.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
If I could piggyback on him piggybacking on what I said, is that the better we do with the public health metrics, right? So, and this is something we all have a role to play, whether we want to, whether we like this or not. The better we do, the better the health metrics look like, the stronger any argument is alongside a thoughtful plan to do more faster. And again, until the better job we do, that has a direct bearing on our local economy and our ability to open business faster.
That's actually a perfect segue, and I'll just open it up to all of you guys, whoever would be interested in answering this question. We have a listener that is a little concerned on how do they handle enforcing as a business owner customers that may not be following some of those best practices, the social distancing, the face masks, the just some of the requirements that are coming down the pipeline. What can they do? Because of course that puts their business at risk, even if they are being very proactive in informing their customers. What can they do there? Any recommendations?
I'll throw the legal part to Mr. Meyer, but I would just say this, you know, if you're an employee at a business, blame your boss. Hey, my boss says that I can't let, you know, if the rule is you can't come in without a mask. Hey, my boss, he said I can't let anybody in. I'm sorry. And you just kind of explain it away. If you're the business owner and you don't want to come off as the bad guy, hey, you know, this is the only way I could open up. And kind of pass it up to the order itself, but at the same time, that's the nice way. That's the non-legal way, or the non-enforcement way. I would defer then to Nick on anything if it goes past that.
Also, I can recommend that people can place a kind of sign in the main entrance of their businesses, a kind of disclosure that please, if you feel sick or you got fever, you know, avoid to come in. The last week I was with one of my clients. He already ran a nursery, and I was surprised with how well disciplined was the people that, you know, everyone wear a mask, Everyone was really, really nice in the way that keep a safe distance in between. It's like, I believe everyone is on the same page, but it's really important that you disclose that upfront, literally. In the main entrance of your business. So in that way, the people can say that, no, nobody told me, or things like that, because we have to face it. There are people that don't understand how serious this virus is. My brother is a doctor. I talked with him and I asked him, a lot of questions about this. And it's really important that we understand and educate ourselves that the only way that we are going to overcome this is with a strong self-discipline to avoid, get the disease or transmit the disease to others. So signs in the main entrance could be another option that we recommend.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Edward.
Yeah, I would agree that that being proactive, and I have seen a number of businesses who've done that, and it does help. And I would say when I've been out, for the most part, we are seeing voluntary compliance. It is a few people that are not. So the answer is yes, you can refuse service. For face coverings in particular, there are exceptions for children under 2 and people who cannot medically tolerate that. So if somebody says, I can't wear a mask, I don't think anybody's expecting you to demand a doctor's note. But for the most part, you can require that, but you don't want to, again, put anybody, yourself or any of your employees in harm's way. If there's somebody who's becoming unruly, who refuses to leave or refuses to follow the rules, you can always reach out to law enforcement for assistance. Who's expecting businesses to go their own at all. So if you have an emergency, don't hesitate to pick up the phone.
You actually just answered a question that just recently came in, and this was related, this actually came from, stylists and barbers. Do they have the right to refuse service as we move into the phase if the individual is exhibiting some of those symptoms or not following or are exhibiting insubordination of the policies and procedures that they are posting? So, and they did specifically ask, are they able to call the authorities if it gets a little out of control? And it's great to know that we will continue to have that support as our small businesses open, because again, it takes all of us as a team to make sure that we're able to accomplish this. So I do have a couple more questions here, and then we'll be able to wrap it up. And this is just a quick question. Those that are providing services, will employees be required to get a COVID-19 test at this time, or do you see that being something that might happen in the future in documenting that?
Well, I have not seen that that's going to be a mandatory one. I also haven't seen much discussion requiring that. I'm not sure if the capacity is out there at this point. That there's available tests that everyone reporting to work is going to be getting tests.
And just stepping in there, if I'm correct, with the options that we have available, or the areas where you can get the COVID-19 test, you should be exhibiting some type of symptoms before taking that test. Again, just not to overwhelm as we work through the testing. On that same note, Frank, there was a question that came here, and it's more of a numbers question, so sorry to throw this at you, but do you happen to know how many tests are currently being run daily, just like a rough ballpark?
I think I could pull this up really fast. We've had a progression. Okay. At the beginning, only the state was doing testing, and I felt like it was like dozens a day. And we have had an incredible increase in our capacity to test. I don't know if the number's 8 or 9 sites between medical and then our 2 community-based sites. There's a community-based site at UIC, College Medicine, and then at Auburn High School, thanks to our partners at Crusader. Both are doing a great job. We have ramped up testing. I'm looking fast and furious here. But I do know that we have, if I say several hundred tests a day, to date, as it was reported yesterday, we've had, upwards, we had 12,629 tests, 4,700 of which are pending, 6,700 plus are negative, and then 1,179, right in that 1,100, 1,200 range are positive. So we have gone from crawling to walking to, I don't know, maybe walking fast with our ability to do capacity testing. And those that have symptoms can go to either of those two sites. We're also seeing you are seeing some people not being turned away if they don't have symptoms, even at these sites.
Okay.
As we've gotten a little more into it, some employers have used private testing labs. Some of the larger employers have done that. That can cost you $1. Others have sent symptomatic employees to the community-based test sites that are open pretty much every day.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Just one additional question here related to testing in terms of disparities within the community, and acknowledging that may be some of our essential workers at this point in time, or maybe some of those entrepreneurs that are moving forward. And I don't want to speak on behalf of the county, but is there any strategic plan? I know there's conversations that are happening. I know having the testing site at Auburn High School is definitely really key. Are there other things that you guys are working on behind the scenes to try to address that?
I'll jump in first, and then if Nick wants to jump in, that's great too. So the health department's done a wonderful job of targeting some areas where we are seeing an increase in positive numbers to get information out about testing, about social distancing, some communication pieces. You've seen, the site at Auburn as well, but I think what we're seeing across the country is that COVID-19 is not hitting everyone equally. Those who have underlying conditions are being among the hardest hit, right? Yeah. Well, when you have particular groupings of our overall population that have a higher percentage of underlying conditions, it is not because somebody is Black or brown, for example, that they are getting COVID-19. It is the fact that folks get it, and if there's a higher percentage of underlying conditions, there's a higher percentage of folks who may have a harder time with this. I'm a person with an underlying condition, but when you see some of our different ethnic groups that have a higher percentage, what this is going to do coming out of the COVID challenge is force a lot of good, proactive, positive, hard-hitting discussions around community health, around social determinants of health, around being a healthier community. It's unacceptable that we have three world-class, world-leading hospital health systems in our region, but we, among the counties in Illinois, of the 102, we are at the bottom, towards the bottom of our overall community health. So we have to focus on this in some of our disadvantaged communities, but more broad than that as well.
Thank you so much for that. Does anyone else want to make comments surrounding that? Well, I do want to thank all of our panelists. This has been a very insightful conversation, great comments that we're receiving on Facebook and also through Zoom. As they have discussed, they are all a resource for you. We will be sure to load this presentation onto our main website, and that will be at gorockford.com. So make sure that you check us out there. Our lunch chats are taking place again every Tuesday and Thursday. Next Tuesday, there will be a special lunch chat on strategic replanning in partnership with NCME. Again, as we're going post-COVID-19, there's going to be an opportunity or maybe a need for us to really take a look at our strategic plans, whether that's on a 3, 6, or 9-month schedule. And then we also have a very special lunch chat webinar taking place on Thursday surrounding marketing partnership and some creative things going on in the community. We encourage that you stay connected. You can go to our Facebook page, Go Rockford, of course, our website. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always email us at covid19@gorockford.com. Again, if you have the opportunity and you're available to, please feel free to donate to our partners, the United Way of Rock River Valley, at their website, or again, you can text at the number that's listed there on your screen. Again, we are here to be a resource for you. Information about local sites, attractions, as well as our weekly webinars and informative information for small businesses, entrepreneurs. We are all hosting that on our website. Please feel free to check out our resource center. And we thank you guys again for joining. And thank you so much for all of our partners and our panelists today. This has definitely been insightful, and we hope that it's been beneficial for you as we continue to connect, inform, and help our community as the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.